The conversation we're about to have was actually inspired by a piece of mail, better known as the straw that broke the camel's back. And in this little envelope and a few others, we have some lessons all of us can benefit from. We'll discuss the concepts of respecting your donor's wishes and time on this edition of the Giving series. Hi, I'm Bill Hobson. Welcome into the Giving series. It's great to have you with us as we engage in a conversation that truly was inspired by what came in my mailbox for the last time, hopefully. You see, I'm a small-time investor in little stocks here and there. I am not a tycoon. You're not going to see me listed in Fortune magazine as one of those up-and-coming investors. I really have very little idea what I'm doing. But one of the things that I have tried to do as I prepare for those final years of life is to stock away a little bit of investment so that if we need it someday, that it will be there. What comes along with those investments, though, is an incredible amount of mailings. Wow. So many pieces of mail. We're getting somewhere with this, by the way. Here's a semi-annual report from one of the funds that I've invested in, whether I knew it or not. And on these pages is such vital information that you would need a magnifying glass and probably someone to interpret it for you. This is just one. This is the semi-annual, so I get that twice. Here's one about some equity funds. This is the annual report. Again, scintillating reading by the fireplace. We can keep on going. We've got some more annual reports with the microscopic print that not even the people who wrote this actually read it, and it just keeps coming and coming. And then, heaven forbid that one of your investment companies merges or takes over another company, because then they put out a proposed merger summary in catalog form, and this comes in the mail. I've only held on to this for the purposes of this video because it is, let's see how many pages we're running to here, in the era where we're constantly being lectured about caring for the earth and conservation and all those different things. It's about 400 pages of newsprint. And again, let me just read to you a brief excerpt. Promptly following the execution and delivery of this agreement, acquirer shall use reasonable best efforts to cause the acquirer common stock to be issued in connection with the transactions to be approved for listing on the NYSE, subject to official notice of insurance. That's just like a sentence out of all of this. So what did I do? As a conscientious investor, I went onto the websites of the few companies that I have a few stocks in. I'm talking companies that are worth billions, and I might have a couple $1,000s worth of stock in them, all right? So I just want you to understand the context of all of this. And I went onto their websites and I signed up for paperless updates. I just send them to me in email so I can quickly hit delete. I know you're required to send them. I'll just get rid of them. And that way, I'm not going to be stockpiling enough paper to restock a forest. So I did that. I asked them to stop sending me things in the mail. And do you know what I got? Do you know the letter that arrived that prompted this particular video and the connection between our real lives and those of our donors and our organizations? I began receiving on a monthly basis a letter that served one purpose: to thank me for signing up for electronic updates. That's what I'm getting. I'm getting the monthly reminder that your update will be coming to you electronically. That's what I'm receiving. You can't win. And it reminds me of the interaction and the relationship that many of us have with those who support our ministries, whether in a church pew or as a monthly or a regular donor to your rescue mission, to your teen outreach, to your ministry, that relies on a solid relationship between organization and supporter. That kind of relationship where you walk a delicate balance between asking too much, not saying thank you often enough, And when somebody says, you know, I don't need 13, 14 appeals from you a year plus your newsletters. I'm in. I already love you. Stop sending me all these things. Does the organization honor those wishes? There are some very, very common sense protocols. We hear the word protocols a lot during this COVID era. There are some very common sense protocols that can actually deepen the relationship and show respect to those donors. And it really involves, in many cases, you sending fewer pieces of mail, you communicating on a somewhat less frequent basis when it includes a request. Now, I have yet to hear someone object to receiving good news, updates about your ministry, those things that would encourage them and show how their donations have been put to good use. But I'd like to encourage you that those updates should most often take place in video and social media form. Why? Because when a donor receives a piece of mail, they know inherently that some expense went into that. And if it's a form of expense that they deem as perhaps not being the most efficient use of their donations, then they kind of take offense at that. And heaven forbid you ever follow the example, and I know you won't, of somebody who says, please just send me your 4 newsletters a year, I don't need anything else. You don't want to violate that. A few years ago, I was talking with the director of a ministry, and it was fall, and so it was time for them to send out acquisition mailings. Well, there was a mix-up with their vendor, and their vendor sent dear friend letters to people who had been supporting that ministry for a lot of years. In other words, it wasn't the personalized touch they're used to, dear Mr. and Mrs. It was just dear generic friend, we would welcome your support. And the people who'd been giving for decades said, I've already been giving you my support, right? So we have these layers and layers of communication nuance that we must pay attention to. One of them being, don't send too much mail. So as we wind down this edition of the Giving Series, a quick idea for you. If you struggle with knowing whether or not you're overmailing your donor base, we'd love to help you with that, have a conversation about that, because through a careful examination of your database, it doesn't have to be names, by the way, we can tell you how often someone is giving over the years. If they always only give at this particular time or these certain months, then you are wasting and over-communicating with them during the other times of the year. Many donors will make their giving preferences and their communication preferences abundantly clear to you through their giving patterns, through their giving history. And if you'd like some help having that conversation so that you don't wind up sending that piece of mail that broke the camel's back, the one that says, congratulations, you've chosen to receive no more mailings from us, we'd like to have that talk with you. Thanks for watching the Giving Series. And if you have an idea, a comment, a question, please send it to us at thegivingseries@gmail.com.